Welcome to this Timbuktu Freepod interview, focusing on the people and places that make Freeport even better. Today, I am at St. Thomas of Aquinas Catholic Church with Barb Eberle, and we're here to talk about the Society of St. Vincent de Paul. Hello, Barb.
Hello, Becky. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. All right, so if you're like me, you may not have realized that Freeport has a Society of St. Vincent de Paul. I've heard about it in other places, but I did not realize that we have it here. So that's very good news for us.
Yes. And we are a very quiet secret. We have celebrated last year in October our 15th anniversary of being here in the Stephenson County and Freeport area. Mm-hmm. And that is the service area that we work with. Obviously, most of the funding goes through Freeport, but we do help people throughout the county.
Great. And how do you help people? Tell us about the Society of St. Vincent de Paul. What do you do?
Yeah, so the Society of St. Vincent de Paul has really been established as maybe I don't want to say a private charity, but it's a Catholic charity, and it's actually been funded by the three Catholic churches here in Freeport. Mm-hmm. So like you said, most people don't know about us, and that's because usually a Society of St. Vincent de Paul conference, a lot of times they have a thrift store.
Yeah, that's how I think most of us have probably heard of it. Yes.
Exactly. And we don't. We also don't have an office, So in order to find us, and because we're a group of churches, we're not just St. Thomas of Aquinas Catholic Church, we're also St. Joseph's Catholic Church and St. Mary's Catholic Church here in Freeport.
Yes.
They're the ones who are supporting us. Because of that, people don't have an understanding that we exist unless they've needed us. And a lot of times they're referred to us by other organizations because we do work, with people here in the Freeport Stephenson County area. We work with like FACC or other groups that have issues. And a lot of times if they're unable to help or they feel we can do something, they tell people to give us a call.
I see. And what is your number if people need to give you a call? And this is either to seek assistance or to offer to volunteer or to offer to donate. Any of those things, here's the number you call.
Right. It's 815-232-2555. And that will just be an answering machine. We will then call you back. So how St. Vincent's, our role in helping people is we believe that the human interaction is what's important. We want people to feel heard. Most of the people, when they need help financially, or even just they need someone to talk to sometimes, what they're looking for is to be heard, to be listened to. And so you will get, once we hear your need on the phone, we will have somebody call you back. You will have a conversation with that person as well as one other person, mostly to ask what your needs are. Obviously, the needs that we usually work with are rent, ComEd, NICOR. However, because, as I was saying earlier, our funding comes from the churches and not from the government.
Mm-hmm. Important distinction.
Very important distinction, because we don't have any requirements of what we can and cannot help with. Mm-hmm. So people come to us frequently for many different reasons. One of the people, if I could take a minute to tell you a story.
Please do.
We had a person who was suggested to us from complex care. And there are people who are trying to go home, but guess what? They can't afford the copay on their drug program in order for them to get home. A lot of times people with diabetes or heart problems need their medication. And
what do you mean when you say they want to get home?
They're at the hospital.
Okay, they're at the hospital.
They're at the hospital, and they're ready to be released. Uh-huh. But they don't want to release them if they can't take their medication when they go home.
I see.
It's unsafe, right?
Yes.
A lot of times people are, stealing from Peter to pay Paul, if that's what the saying is.
Yeah.
Where they're trying to take money that they would have used maybe for their medication, and they bought food. Mm-hmm. And now they don't have the money for their copay. And, some people say, well, how expensive are their copays? We've paid anywhere from $100 to help people get back into their homes to $18. I mean, sometimes they don't even have the $18 it takes for them to be able to go back home. So we are able to coordinate, even with HIPAA laws and everything else. We work with them in how to get that medication to them.
And like you said, because you're non-governmental, you're more flexible. People don't have to perhaps do the paperwork, jump through certain hoops that they would for a government assistance.
Exactly.
Because you're funded by the churches, you can decide the need yourself and step in and help, I'm assuming, more quickly also.
Exactly. Well, it's usually very quickly. We are usually that safety net that's saving them. They have tried everybody else, usually by the time they get to us. Whether it's their water bill or their rent or whatever, they have probably exhausted all of federal programs or all of the programs that would normally help them, and they're still struggling. I think what's important, too, to understand is that frequently we're not talking about homeless people. I mean, I think people think, well, we're giving money to homeless people. These are people who are working.
And just need a little extra hand.
Yeah, something's come up. Their car broke down and they had a big cost to have it fixed.
Or like you said, a medical bill.
Or a medical bill came up. Sometimes one of the big things right now is a lot of our senior citizens are starting to move into, let me back up. In the last couple of years, the biggest group of people who were in poverty were single moms with, say, 2 or 3 kids, right? Working, but trying to make ends meet.
Sure.
In the past year, that group that is starting to ease in or get bigger are our senior citizens because they are on such a tight budget, right? It's fixed.
Yes, fixed income, yeah.
Yeah, and that fixed income isn't going as far as we all know. You and I can go to the grocery store too, and we can see how the prices are just going up. The cost of gas is going up. Last fall, I had a man come in, elderly, he and his wife, and we were helping them with their water bill, but that was because they had to take extra money out of their normal budget to pay for their house taxes. Oh, sure. They did not realize that the taxes had gone up so much. And he was in his 80s, and he was out cutting lawn with, a push lawnmower to try and get enough money, and he still just couldn't get the money he needed. So we stepped in and talked to him. Now, we find that out. As I said, they're going to talk to a number of people because we want to make sure that they feel heard and that we know that maybe that's not the only problem they have. Maybe there are other issues. So once they call, they'll be spoken to on the phone. But we also do a home visit or a visit at the library, depending on what works best for everybody involved. And we do this in twos. On our job, the two Vincentians that go to visit with our neighbors, we talk to them. We try to figure out how much money they have coming in. We don't ask for required bills or anything, but we just kind of want to see how they do budget, what they've got to budget with, and then the bills that they have. And then if there are areas that we know there are groups of people here in town who might be able to help them, like maybe they have a big food bill, we do bring up the food shelves. Right? We show up FACC or Martin Luther King, whatever it might be that seems to fit their need, right? And we can help them figure out, is there a way that they can save some of the money to pay the bills that obviously are being eaten up by the cost of inflation?
So sometimes you make recommendations for how to fix the budget a little bit.
Now, whether they take them or not is up to them. But many times the people coming to us don't even know what's available to them. So a lot of our responsibility is to help educate them, to listen to them, and then to help them get over the crisis they're in. It's really hard, I think, for people sometimes to think clearly when they're overwhelmed by a bill hanging over their heads.
Sure.
And so we try to, to be there for them and to listen to them. It's a really important part. Last year, well, actually, even this year, we're working off of a $40,000 budget. Mm-hmm. That's about what we have. And we are assisting right now about 20 families a month, which equals maybe between 60 and 75 individuals, depending on how big the family is.
Family size, yeah.
Yeah. That is up from last year quite significantly. And yeah, it's I guess we shouldn't be surprised. There have been a lot of programs cut, which I can get into later. But so a large part of what we do, let me just back up. So a large part of what we do is we are helping people with the basic utilities and rent and helping them, get over a temporary kind of problem.
And is it one-time assistance from your organization, or how does that work?
Yeah, we were saying once every 12 months. We have kind of, because of the economy and some of the areas, it kind of depends on what you're asking for. Obviously, if you needed medicine for $18 and you have a water bill for $200, we more than likely will help you with both and not say, well, we helped with $1,800. Mm-hmm. But the average that we're actually giving out per family, if you, just kind of do the math, is about $167 a family. That's about what we're coming up with. And that's one of the reasons why donations were really important and why I really want to get the word out to people that we could help more. There are a lot more people. Of the 40 people or 40 families that we're assisting, 20 families we're assisting, we're probably getting 40 to 50 calls. And some of them we're just not able to help. If I can give any advice to people who need assistance, do not wait, right? It's a lot easier for many of our groups who can help people to pay a month of your electric or a month of your rent. But it gets very difficult when you come in and you owe $1,500, mm-hmm. right? That we just don't have the kind of funding where we can go out and help that. So that's where, again, we start going around to see if there are other people. But frequently, again, they all have the same problems, right? So the other side that I think is important for people to understand is that when we are helping our neighbors, they are not receiving the money. Okay, so our donors give us money and we have a financial responsibility to them to make sure that money is going to pay the bills and to help these people get ahead, or to at least
pay the bills directly.
The bills get directly paid either to the landlord, to ComEd, to the pharmacy, mm-hmm. Whoever we're working with. And that way we are assured that they are getting the money where it is really needed. Nothing gets lost, as well as it gets done quickly. Yes. Right? I mean, you have an
efficient system that you can use.
That we can use. We're also audited once a year, so our donors can know that the money is being channeled right into the right places, and that it's not being used for other things. And all the money is staying right here in Freeport. That one of the wonderful
or
things,
Stephenson County.
Or Stephenson County, yes. One of the wonderful things about this Society of St. Vincent de Paul and the conferences is that we are grassroots, right? So what's staying here is ours, and we are all volunteers. Nobody gets paid.
How many volunteers are you? You're one of the volunteers. How many others are involved in this program?
We have a group of 14 right now. Mm-hmm. And so
it's from all three of the Catholic churches?
Yes. And we tend to, work well with other people. Usually you're Catholic, but we help non-Catholics. I don't want people to think that because we're a Catholic charity that we only help Catholic assistants.
Yes.
We assist everyone.
You don't ask people's religion.
We never ask what your religion is.
So the Society of St. Vincent de Paul also has some specific outreach programs, hot meals, trucks. Tell us about that.
Yes. So one of the things that we've always been involved with for many years is a Northern Illinois food bank truck. And it usually came on the third Friday of the month. And back in 2024, we actually had 5 food trucks, and it usually brings enough food. It's mobile, so they just kind of drive through and we put in the bags of food. But the food truck usually fed about 120 families. Back in 2025, when like the Department of Agricultural and some of the others were disbanded, we stopped getting the ability to have food trucks. We only were able to get 2 that year. And so one of the things we decided to do was to go with the Aero Daily. So years ago here in Freeport, you had an Aero Daily community food or community lunch going on at St. Joseph's Church. And they decided to resurrect that. So on the 3rd Saturday of every month, we will have a hot meal at Burke Hall. It's usually, fruit and a hot, like I said, a hot meal. And then when you leave, you can also have a lunch bag to go. We frequently also will have something on tables for people to take: laundry detergent, hand soap, different things. So every household can get some of those things that are not being covered by SNAP.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was one of the things we did. Now
and excuse me, you said this is the 3rd Saturday of the month, and
Yes.
Where is it held?
It's at Berg Hall,
which is part of what church?
Which is part of St. Joseph's Church. It is on 202 Pleasant.
Okay, and how many people usually attend those lunches?
Yes, we've been very fortunate. We've been getting like 120 to 139 people coming in.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
It's really been helpful, especially with the lack of food. And we're very worried about it because with summer coming and the number of children who get fed at school.
Yeah, they won't be getting those lunches at school.
They won't be getting the food. So that's really important. So the other thing that we've done is we have gotten 2 food trucks. We have already had one of our food trucks for this year, but we have a second one coming up in June, and that will also be at St. Joseph's Church in the parking lot between St. Berg Hall and the church itself on Pleasant.
Okay.
And so I would just tell people to, keep your eyes open. If anybody in Stephenson County is welcome. And actually, we don't card anybody, so people come from other places too.
Sure.
All we ask is that you tell us how many families are in the car so we know how much to give you, as well as how many people are in each family. And so that's really important to us.
And speaking of cars, you also have another program to tell us about.
I do. So one of the things that we realized last year is a lot of times people are unable to work because they cannot get transportation to interviews, to doctor's appointments, or to jobs. And so what we've done, St. Vincent de Paul has made a decision we made it a contract with the Freeport Pretzel Bus Company that St. Vincent de Paul will pay for those bus trips. Mm-hmm. So if a person, let's say we had a person and they were told us, well, we got a job, but I don't know if I can get to the job. If they call us and they tell us that I'm working at St. Thomas Aquinas Church, I go to work at 9 a.m, I'm done at 5, give us their address, tell us that they're going to get paid once a week. St. Vincent de Paul, will call the Freeport bus group, Pretzel bus group, and we will give them that information. They are told that it is only good to go from home to work and then from work to home. Once they get their first check, we assume that they will then be able to budget the money into their own so they can continue the bus, but they will be the ones paying after that.
So you're paying for transportation so that people can start their new jobs.
Yes.
Which sounds like a very valuable service.
Yeah, we're also paying for transportation if for some reason people need physical therapy and have no way to get there. We want them to stay healthy. The whole goal is to keep people in their homes if we can, right? The whole goal is to give them a feeling of good health and to be part of that.
Well, that's good. Do you have some other stories about people you've helped in different ways?
I do. We had one where we recently helped a single dad with rent. He had a school-age daughter, and while working, he was injured and was unable to continue not only working, but doing the old job he used to do. He had a head injury. So by the time we got to him, though, he was already healed or somewhat healed, and he was working from home, but he was behind. He had lost his car in the accident that he had. And he just needed a way to get back into paying his rent. And that's what he was asking us help for. Rent is very expensive.
Yes.
So, an average rent for us could be $800. We're rarely able to help totally with $800 even for our people. But what we do is we work with the landlords. So a lot of times the landlords will come to us and say, how much can we help them with? We talk to the
person who's asked for assistance.
Thank you.
The neighbor.
The neighbor. We speak with the neighbor, and we find out how much they feel they can afford. And then if it's possible, a lot of times even if it's not rent, it could be even ComEd or the water department's very good about this. They'll put them on a plan where whatever's left over, they might add a little bit more each month to the rent till they get caught up.
Mm-hmm.
And that seems to be helpful.
Well, that seems like a really good skill that you and the other volunteers have. And that's an important skill, is to help coordinate, not just paying the money and running, but coordinating with the other groups and like you said, the landlords involved.
Yeah, keeping them involved. And the people are just very, very gracious. They're, usually by the time we are talking to them, they are, I don't want to say overly worried, but I would say their ability to think really clearly about their next steps, and that it's gone already because they're just worried about now.
Sure.
Right.
The
now
stress of all this adding up, and
you have a child, you have to work,
trying to get food on the table.
Exactly.
And I'm sure it's very comforting to meet with someone who listens to them and listens to what they need.
We've been very fortunate in that. We also spend a day a month at FACC on a Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been fluctuating, but we're hoping to get back to going on the same Thursday. But people can just walk in versus calling, and we work with them. Sometimes those people we're really just there to listen to. A number of them have come in and said, I've got a problem and I know you can't help me. A lot of times those are people who are felons. It's very difficult to help them find rent, find a home or that. And that's really not something we do. We don't help people find apartments or anything like that. So, but they want to talk. And when they leave, they'll say, thank you. I really appreciated this. And it's amazing. I think we don't understand, how isolated our world is these days. I think it's gotten worse since COVID. I think people are very lonely. And especially in Freeport, that at one time had a much larger economic income base where, you had a lot more jobs and a lot of everything. I think a lot of people's children have moved away and they're kind of here on their own. And so they don't have the family support system that they used to have.
So lots of ways that the Society of St. Vincent de Paul can help our neighbors, can help people in need. Remember, too, it's also lots of ways that you can donate to the Society of St. Vincent de Paul and or volunteer. They've got 14 volunteers, but could use more. So what, again, is the number they should call?
The number they should call is 815-232-2555.
So thank you. Again, many of us have heard of St. Vincent de Paul, but didn't realize that there was a society right here in Freeport to help us. So thank you very much, Barb. And this has been Freepod. Thanks for listening.